The years. I believe that over our 20 years of marriage, my wife cheated. I know deep down that I'm probably acting foolishly and irrationally. I've been married to my wife for more than 23 years, having spent more than 25 years together. We've experienced ups and downs in our marriage, just like others. But I believe that our highs far outweigh our lows. Our combined ages are 8, 11, 15, and 19 years old. We lead wonderful lives together and are both accomplished professionals. It's a wonderful question that you may be wondering why I am blogging here. I've been skulking about this channel for a while now, reading other people's posts in the hopes of corroborating my marriage. No red flags or suspicions have arisen. I just wanted to be sure that I was doing everything in my power to keep our marriage strong. Finally, the main point of my post for today. My wife was sent to Hawaii for 3 months on a project 20 years ago while she was traveling extensively for work. We were fighting a bit around that time, largely about how much travel her profession needed. Nevertheless, after she had been there for a few months, I went to visit and stayed with her for a week. She appeared a little aloof, but I just put that down to the problems we were having. I didn't notice or perceive anything unusual at the moment. A few months after her return from her trip, fast forward, our new home was in a different state, where she would be employed as a fitness instructor full-time, which implied that there would be no more travel. We had a great relationship and everything was going great for us. She asked me to go to an event with her one evening, even though I didn't want to. She kind of joked that her friend would have taken her, but I'm not sure if that was out of guilt or something else. I asked this friend who this acquaintance was. She first told me about her affair in Hawaii at this point. She said that although they had kissed, their relationship had ended and they had not had intercourse. She wanted to be with me and wasn't in love with this guy. She has denied any sex to me when I ask about the nature of the affair on multiple occasions. We had just been married for 2 years and were in our early 20s, so we were rather young. I eventually made the decision to stay with her and start a life together. Years passed before I felt comfortable enough to trust her in full again. She performed whatever I requested of her with regret, and continues to be honest and open with me. I genuinely adore this gal, even if it's not how it was before this incident. Here's the main part of my problem and the reason I'm sharing my experience. I've read a lot on this channel, as I've already indicated. There seems to be a pattern here. WS tells BS that the affair was just a kiss, but the veterans of this site tell us it was definitely much more and was later found out via Facebook, text, and email. It's true that they had sex during the affair. Sadly, not all of these resources were available to us when I was a spouse. Her word was all I had to rely on. And now for my query, should I even care now, after all these years? For more than 2 decades, she has largely been an exemplary wife. Does it matter that we didn't kiss and instead made love while petting and fondling without engaging in sexual activity because I've already made the decision to make amends and have constituted a household with her? Should I explain that this would have been a deal breaker for me back then and I shouldn't feel obligated to carry on with our marriage if I found out that it went far beyond kissing? Is it appropriate for me to let go of this and move on, enjoying the life we've created, or am I being a jerk? Remarks. What transpired with your wife when she was in Hawaii is unknown to me. She might or might not have slept with this man. Having a wonderful marriage for the past 20 years ought to count for something, in my opinion. Shame on you if you allow this to negatively impact your marriage right now. A few years ago, I was away attending a convention. We had a large group of clients in our room. I was talking to a woman about a problem at work. She was lovely and younger than me throughout this party. We conversed for around 2 hours. By 3 a.m., everyone had left, leaving me alone. She requested if she could stay the night as her room was at a different hotel across the street, along with my staff. She also didn't want to go there by herself on foot at night. She shared a double bed with me. Now, I'm sure a lot of people would claim that we most likely had sex if my wife were sharing this tale online. In actuality, we didn't even come into contact. We slept on top of the covers while still wearing our clothing. The bed next to us was occupied by one of my employees. It's possible that your wife made friends and hung out with a guy she didn't sleep with after meeting him. In response, Opus clarifies a few points. She didn't work with the man she had an affair with. He was not going to the event. This was now after she had departed Hawaii. She was merely asserting that he would have accompanied her if he had been present. Regarding the pregnancy, our first child was born a year following D-Day. Thus, there is no doubt about the father's identity. I'm positive there hasn't been any communication. She said to me that she hadn't spoken to him in a week, save to let him know that everything was good between them. I'm not sure why she felt the need to tell him about our connection. I wouldn't want to do anything to interfere with my children's lives because they are my life. It would be best if I just kept my mouth shut and let the past go. To get rid of this history from my mind, I simply wish there existed a memory extractor like in the film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Over many years, I have challenged her personally numerous times. Regretfully, her word is my only source of information. She adamantly rejects having sex. However, she shuts up and refuses to talk when I ask her if it was making out, fondling, caressing, etc. However, I suppose that at the time, as a young, innocent man, I wasn't sure what questions to ask. The way she retracts when I inquire about the intensity of their makeout gives me the impression that they were kissing. Not exactly intercourse, but certainly more than a quick kiss. I have no doubt that anything personal occurred. Hell, she acknowledged that they shared more than one kiss. She has been an amazing wife and mother to my children for all these years, so I do feel like I'm treating her unfairly. Why, after all these years, am I bringing this up and hanging it over her head? There are moments when I feel like releasing her would be preferable. This is not what she deserves. Heck, even killers who serve shorter sentences in prison are released. Remarks, my perspective is altered by your account of her response when you inquire about something other than kissing. And there was much more than just kissing, as you mentioned. I'm not sure whether it matters at this point, whether or not they had sex. It is true that she had an emotional affair that developed into a physical one. I don't think Apia has to involve having sex. It appears that she has acknowledged cheating. She cheated, as you know. You simply don't know how much of the cheating is involved. I would advise telling your wife you love her if you are unable to get past this. You adore your life together with her, but that despite your strong desire to move on from the incident, you find it impossible to forget. Make an appointment for counseling and ask your spouse to join you so that you may work through this problem. If she refuses, leave on your own. I think you are a fortunate man based on how you described your marriage. Honestly, I hope the best for you. I hope you can find a way to move on from this and have a fulfilling life. I'm hoping he gets back to you. I must admit that it took me more than 5 years to come to the conclusion that I should no longer be questioning her. What truly brought me back to this area was reading post after post about kissing turning into sex. Simply put, I have the feeling that if I had all the information, I might have chosen otherwise. However, it seems like a lot of people are saying it, and I know deep down that it doesn't really matter right now. This seems like a sensible remedy for what I'm experiencing. We didn't actually mop the floor, in my opinion. Trust me, I told everyone about it when it happened, forcing her to resign from her position and become fully open, which she completed without any problems. All that has troubled me over the years is the unknown. I'm aware that I'll never have all the information, and perhaps I should accept that and go on. It's all an ego issue. Many of the people here, including myself, think that their wives were unique and never imagined that they would find themselves in this situation. I suppose I should consider myself fortunate that it occurred early in our marriage and served as a teaching opportunity. At minimum, I believe some of the things I see would be helpful to me. Do I really want to know the answer? Someone asked. And if I found out, how would I respond? Perhaps I should get an answer to that before I go up to her. I don't want to let something that happened 20 years ago ruin what has been a wonderful marriage. Remarks, however, why would you ruin such a nice marriage by insisting on discovering the truth about what actually happened 20 years ago? Would she waste these 20 wonderful years simply so you could make her take a polygraph over something she knows to be kissing alone? How come she wouldn't give you that? Are you also adamant that you require additional details regarding the specifics of what transpired between her and the guy? What are you losing by pressing her on it and bringing it up again? Despite all the positive, solid parts of your marriage, I may be coming across as a little harsh or rhetorical here. I get the impression that your wife does not value you highly enough as a husband, a man, or the person she says she loves to accept full responsibility for her actions and take care of whatever you ask her to in order to make you feel completely at rest. On the other hand, you worry that bringing up the topic excessively once more would end up ruining your marriage. I concur that you have a problem with your ego and pride. Just like you did 20 years ago, you lack the pride and the inflated ego necessary to demand the full level of respect to a husband. I would recommend to put it as politely as possible, truth seeker post, for instance. However, bring it up once more and don't let it rest until you're completely satisfied with her response. Next, consider your course of action regarding the response. Allow her to persuade you to remain with her. That would show that she is actually sorry for what she did, not all she has done over the past 20 years. My assumption is that she was obviously avoiding him if, after 20 years, she hasn't been able to completely disclose. That's her pet peeve, and you guys never deal with the facts. She would now have to deal with 20 years of falsehoods. Since she hasn't told you everything and you want to be married to her, you might want to let her know that you are still hurting. It looks like you would be willing to forgive her if she would be honest. Inform her that you don't want any doubt and that watching mindless movies is unfair and detrimental to your marriage. You just want to know, after all these years, if she did duck him. You want to finally put it behind you so you can heal, and only she can give you what you need. She has been a nice wife and mother for the past 20 years. But be ready, do you really believe that Jerkom was waiting to plant a kiss? At the very least, it was light, if not full on. Wishing you luck. I don't think you should ignore it. You wouldn't be asking the question after all this time if it were that simple or achievable. Update, I wanted to allow myself some time to read and really think through the questions I need to ask and the answers I need to find, as well as what I would do if I had the answers. Sadly, my wife saw that I was reading and got on, so I was unable to get that time. As a result, we had to talk about this problem earlier than I had planned. She naturally believes that some are projecting their problems and their experiences onto her, and in certain situations, this may be true. Overall though, I believe the majority were being fair. Anyway, I asked her what she thought sex was, based on a suggestion from another user. Does it involve oral as well as sexual contact? She claimed there was no oral communication, neither receiving nor giving, and no sexual activity. I followed up by asking if it went beyond simply kissing. Did you engage in intimate touching, such as fondling? She was reluctant to respond to this inquiry, as far as I could tell. She started to look really uneasy and seemed to be having trouble looking me in the eye. She would confidently respond no every time I inquired about the sex, meeting my gaze. However, until a few days ago, I had never considered asking this question. Her demeanor told me that I knew the answer to my question when she finally clammed up. Though I wasn't sure if I wanted to know, I considered asking for further information. She just stated that she had attempted to suppress those recollections, without providing any further information. She claimed that she never imagined being able to harm me in that way and that she is embarrassed of what she did. She effectively attested to the fact that there was a lot of making out throughout the session, so I didn't want to inquire further. To be honest, I feel so foolish for having never considered asking that question. Regretfully, 20 years ago, I was not able to access this forum. I believe her when it comes to the sex, but I'm not sure if a polygraph is required at this time. She says she will take a polygraph to allay my doubts about the sex, and I can ask any questions during. Regardless of the nature of the affair, she claimed that I had forgiven her for cheating years prior, which is technically accurate. I did, however, tell her that even though I had the information back then, I do now. I would have probably decided to call it quits on the marriage. We had not had children together and had only been married for 2 years. That is not the case today. I constantly have to tell myself that she has been a devoted wife for the past 20 years since this happened. Her affair was a conscious decision to leave the marriage, not an inebriated ons that she may claim was an error. I have to tell myself over and over again as I write this that I did forgive her and make amends once she came clean. My opinion of her slightly decreased after learning that she had cheated on me. Once they found out how big of an affair it was, it shrank back down. I have personally been the victim of 20 years of lies, even though it was an omissional falsehood. The question, what will I do if I get my answer, was posed before. For the time being, the question remains unresolved. I adore my family and will stop at nothing to ruin the foundation we have created together over the past 20 years. But this admission that they were having sex has made me feel a little depressed. I have to deal with this in my head now instead of the mind movies of them kissing. Fortunately, I should be able to lessen the negative effects the movies will have on our relationship because I know how to control them from the prior time. Remarks, for 20 years, your spouse deceived you. If you had known the truth, you would have divorced her. That, in my opinion, is a pretty betrayal. You think she's been faithful ever since. Without a polygraph, I'm not sure I would trust it given that she lied to you for 20 years, which she has consented to. Therefore, you may choose to proceed with that. Even if she dies or you choose to keep your faith in her, counseling is still necessary. It appears that MC and IC have created a fulfilling life together that is worthy of being maintained. However, you at least must IC regarding the deceit. Opus answers, I'm sure I can overcome this, but my only concern is this. It will take some time, but I think I can mostly block it from my. You're right, I know I should leave this website. I can relate to you, so I know. I'm free to go on after 20 wonderful years. However, my ego asks, are you going to accept that during your supposed honeymoon phase, your wife made out with another man? I also remember our early dating chats, in which I asked her whether she would cheat on her prior partner with me, to which she replied categorically, never. However, after only 2 years of marriage, she goes and cheats on her spouse. It makes me wonder if she wouldn't cheat on me because she didn't think I was worthy enough. I understand that, for the time being at least, it shouldn't really matter. I've tried to unwind by having a couple drinks today, and spend some time alone myself. Nevertheless, my sons have different perspectives. Well, that weighs on me too, but it's good to have them here. I'm confident that I'll overcome this and emerge from it stronger. Last-minute revision. Hello to all of you. I intended to provide an update on my narrative. It did go beyond simply kissing, as I eventually realized and shared in my previous piece. It was pretty much whatever you could do up until the actual sexual act. It wasn't full-blown intercourse. To be honest, this really caught me off guard for a day or so. But then I realized, what the heck, what? That was 2 decades ago. The woman I am currently seeing is not the same as the one I saw 20 years ago. She had already paid a price for her transgression. In the 2 decades that have passed, she has demonstrated her commitment to our relationship. I've come to understand what a great many others on this channel already knew. That previous issue had been dealt with 20 years ago. I needed to move on, not ignored or covered up. I understand that she was apprehensive about losing me, which is why she refrained from disclosing the entirety of their makeout session. With the benefit of getting older with my wife, I must say that I'm relieved she didn't tell me the whole truth back then. Had I not been fortunate enough to have a life like the one I have, I would have ended the marriage. The fact that I was able to go past the realization that it had progressed as far as it had was something that truly shocked me during the past few weeks. Don't get me wrong, for a day or two, it really broke me down. However, when I considered the whole picture, I saw that everything I have now outweighs this one mistake in the past, different from how some people on this board see my seeming suffering. Over the years, I've felt a tremendous deal of happiness and delight. I gave in to doubting the past because of what I've been reading on this board about how kissing was equivalent to having sex, despite my conviction that there was no sexual activity. Is it really that important when you look at the larger picture? Not at all. That being said, my spouse and I are doing better than before. I genuinely value her more now than I did before to this recent revelation. I'm aware that a lot of individuals on this board are going through similar experiences to mine from 20 years ago. Determining if a divorce or reconciliation is the correct course of action can be challenging. You're unsure if your partner will continue the affair in secret or have another one at a later time. What most of you lack, I possess. I have the advantage of having witnessed my spouse's actions over a 2-decade span. The upside is that I can see how happy my life could be in the aftermath of adultery. It's evident to me that individuals can make mistakes and dedicate their entire lives to becoming the spouse their partner always imagined they would be. All I can hope for is that, whatever course your relationship ultimately takes, that you will grow stronger and lead a great, happy life in the future. In response, I'm glad you're over it and that you are aware of the reality, but the plain facts are that she essentially had sex with a friend 20 years ago. She dishonestly concealed this from you for 20 years in order to protect herself. She joked about him when you refused to accompany her to an event, indicating that even though you denied her the freedom to choose, she is still thinking about him. Hasn't actually been in the same circumstance for 20 years, so who knows what might have transpired in that time. Recall that this is what you are moving on from and forgiving at this point. I wish you well in your future endeavors. Since that final misbehaving event, she has demonstrated that she is an ideal wife for the past 20 years. As long as she has never placed herself in the position of spending a lot of time away from you for work while in close proximity to a man or someone extremely similar to that man. All I'm trying to say is that you should remain alert. She might still harbor some residual feelings for that man, because if she didn't, she wouldn't be thinking about him. She may not truly love you, but remember that everyone makes mistakes, especially if they have done this in the past. Enjoy life, but remember to be watchful and aware of this. Give it up. You are a good married, fully sane man. Because of what occurred or did not occur 20 years ago, you do not want to throw it away. There are people here who have been severely harmed by their spouses, and they frequently advocate for further research. Though it's hard to blame them, I don't think further research will be helpful. It will not benefit your marriage in the slightest. All it will do is aggravate you. We are aware of the outcome of this case. She didn't abandon you for another man. She chose not to live a life of dishonesty and fraud. You seem to have had a great run since then. In fact, many more years are ahead of us. My comment: you guys believe it's a good decision to live with your cheating partner? Tell me what you would have done in a comment below on the bell and subscriber pages.